Good morning. Welcome to Going On Daily. I am your host, Becky, and I'm here with Mr. Martin Blanco today. Good morning. Happy Monday.
Good morning, Becky. Happy Monday. Good to be back.
Yes, good to be back. Oh, Hugo's here already. Face fuchsia poop shape. I don't know what that means, but okay, Hugo, nice to see you.
Intriguing. Okay.
Amazing. Okay, so how was your weekend?
Uh, mine was great, other than I had a wonderful trip going on in Florida. It was at Disney World with my
Okay.
wife, and we had to come back like a day
Mm-hmm.
early because of the ensuing
Uh,
storm. And again, this should be the worst of my problems. So let's put that in perspective. And we wanted to be back for the Super Bowl. So we left a little early, but we were able to switch flights. And, we got home, we relaxed, we unpacked, and then we had a nice Super Bowl party with friends. So it was a good weekend.
it is crazy to me how much Americans love football. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure a lot of Canadians were also watching the Super Bowl yesterday. It just, I just feel like football in America is more popular than hockey in Canada.
Yeah, it's an apt comparison, that's for sure. Let me just say that I am not the world's biggest football fan by any stretch of the
Okay.
imagination, but I get emotionally invested at playoff time and Super Bowl
Yeah.
time. But I think more to your point, 40 years ago, the playwright, screenwriter, and sometimes essayist David Mamet wrote an essay about the two remaining authentic American holidays. That is to say, the
Huh.
holidays in America where we actually celebrate what the holiday is supposed to
Wow.
be. And 40 years ago, he said they were the Academy Awards and the Super Bowl.
Jeez.
And I don't, he was being funny, but I don't
He's
think,
not wrong.
he made a good case. I don't think he's wrong either. I mean, Americans do love the Super Bowl. It is as much a national
Really.
holiday as the 4th of
Yeah,
July.
right. True. Well, before we get into it, we will talk Super Bowl here, but just letting the viewers know where you can find us. Of course, we are on Facebook. You can find us if you just type in Rhode Island Broadcasting, we will come up. You can follow us and support the show with stars, not bits. I've learned the difference here. You can also find us on YouTube at Rhode Island Broadcasting. Subscribe there. And definitely catch us live on Twitch at RI_broadcasting. Support the show with bits over there. And, all the social medias, we have all the things. Ron is so good at getting us hooked up with all the social medias. So, anywhere that you want to find us on social
Yes.
media, Rhode Island Broadcasting, we are there. Finally, check out our Patreon at RI Broadcasting and get yourself some Rhode Island Broadcasting Going On Daily merchandise. So, yeah, let's get into it here. Super Bowl. So, you obviously watched it.
We did watch it. We did. We gathered with friends, most of whom, some are, but most of whom are not the world's biggest football fans. But it's a chance to get together with
Right.
friends
Fellowship.
and watch. Yeah, fellowship and look. And yesterday was a terrific game. If you were rooting for the
Oh,
Eagles, which I was,
I think a lot
so
of people were.
yeah, I think the most astonishing thing is look. Even though they lost, there's no denying Kansas City is a great team.
Mhm.
All right, they had a terrible day, and it's very difficult to win Super Bowls and championships 3 years in a
Mhm.
row. It's a tall order, but that that it wasn't close, that their failure was so utterly
It was, yeah.
spectacular, made it for a lot of fun. It made it for a great fun game for
Right.
me and
For
most of
Eagles
my
fans.
friends.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that offensive line was, I'm like, wow. I don't recall seeing something that bad. So many contiguous sacks plus the turnovers. And I was just giddy with it all. So there you go.
I was reading and it said that no other team has been able to do three in a row, not even New England Patriots.
Yeah. Right, right. You can win a lot, but contiguously, it's very difficult. Conversely, I
Mhm.
think it's amazing and a weird sort of compliment, but I mean it as a compliment that the Buffalo Bills
Mhm.
lost 4 in a row way
Mm.
back when. I
Okay.
forget if it was the 80s or 90s, but clearly they made it to the Super Bowl 4 years in a row.
Wow.
That's a quality team. All right, the fact that they couldn't close it on 1 time out of the 4, that is not easy to do either.
Well, that's a
But
record
they're a
in its
good
own
team. They
right.
just yeah. Yes, yes. But it's very, very difficult. I'm a much bigger baseball fan, and I'm a
Oh.
Yankee fan, much to Ron's dismay. But when I think of the dynasties that the Yankees had over the decades, and they haven't had one for a while now,
Right.
it's very difficult, even if you have, more money than God. All right, it's difficult to put together a championship team that can win consecutively year after
True.
year after year.
Yeah,
So,
that's so
yeah,
true. So, admittedly, I did
yeah.
not watch the Super Bowl. Uh,
It's
if
okay.
I had been in a group, like if someone had invited me over, I
Mhm.
probably would have gone and mostly
Sure.
focused on the food
Yeah.
because I like snacking.
Mhm. And
But
that's a big part of it too, right?
yeah, exactly. My parents had said, "Yeah, we're having people over," and I said, "Oh, who?" "Or neighbors, your brother." And I said, "Oh, did my invitation get lost in the mail? That's so interesting." She goes, "Well, we know you don't like
Mm.
football." I said, "Yeah, but I like fellowship. I like hanging out."
Mhm.
But, my husband came home.
Sure.
He was like, "Let's watch the Super Bowl." We couldn't get it on our channels for whatever reason, so, um, whatever. That's okay. We missed it. We tuned in on the internet
You missed
here and there. So it looks like, the final score 40-22 in favor of the Eagles.
Mhm.
A lot of people online are
Yes.
happy about that. I feel like the Kansas City has the same sort of hmm, what's the word I'm looking for? Infamy maybe, or the same hate that New England Patriots had.
Well, when you win consistently,
Mhm.
so consecutively, and so utterly for years, and then maybe you get a little cocky, a little too full of
Mhm.
yourselves, and so people like to see you taken down a notch. I think a root for the underdog
Yes.
a little bit. So I think that's a part of it. I wonder if in some circles politics entered,
Like,
certainly an East Coast versus Middle America kind of
mhm.
vibe. That was part of it. But you look for things because look, most people in the country aren't Eagles and Kansas City fans. They're from
Right.
different parts. Their team wasn't in. So what are you going to use to get emotionally connected? I think last year I was rooting for
Mm,
KC because of Taylor Swift's. Let's just say her social views that I wanted to champion, particularly let's say empowerment of young women. And all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, so now she's connected to the team. I need a reason to root for
right.
some team. It's going to be that this year. Philadelphia. Look, Philadelphia. My grandmother was born and raised in Philadelphia. My brother lived in the suburbs for a couple of years. I had some emotional connection to
Right.
Philly, and I am a Taylor Swift agnostic. I don't
Agnostic.
really listen to her music. I don't listen to her music. I wish her no harm. I think she was an extraordinary economic
Right.
phenomena. And I couldn't name. Now I know the song Romeo and Juliet because when I was teaching young high school women, yeah, they whenever we did Romeo and Juliet, they make me play Love Story before we started the unit. But I couldn't name another one of her songs. But the fact that she was an economic and is an economic and social phenomenon, I find interesting. But that's the
Yes.
extent
Now, did
I
you
got with Swift.
see the Jumbotron put her on and then the crowd booed? Did you see
Yes.
that?
Yeah. I mean, that was a little. It was a little,
Okay,
a little
listen, it's
crass,
not
but
it's not kind to do that by any
no,
means, but the
no,
fact is, like, a lot of people are making Taylor Swift synonymous with football now, and it's like purists of football are like, it has nothing to do with Taylor Swift. Like, all these people are
right.
flocking to the
Yeah.
NFL because of Taylor Swift, which is fine. I mean, ratings are ratings, but I just think that's a lot of people don't appreciate that. I also saw on
Hmm.
online today, some people were writing like, when Trump was there, people were cheering, and then when Taylor was there, people were booing. They're like, "America's healing." So yeah, it's I
You
don't know.
know,
It doesn't need to be political. That's the thing.
there's so much more to the game than the football. And it does get
Mm,
silly. Now, I will say this: Taylor Swift, I think, should be in a place comfortable enough in her skin and what she's established, so that a little booing shouldn't be devastating to her too. So let's
for
keep that in
sure.
perspective.
I
But
you know I think when
yeah,
you're
but
used to constant praise,
yeah,
having
yes,
a
yes,
place, boo you, she was like,
yeah.
"What's going on here?"
Oh, oh, I know. Yeah. Silly. But look, all right, so that's part of it. And then of course there's the halftime show. I don't know if you caught any of that
So
on
I
from
didn't,
what
but
I
I
used
was
to stream
I
it.
was reading about it, and number
Mhm.
one, it was political. I hate that. Just like shut up and do what you're supposed to do, and that's like
Yeah,
entertain
yeah.
football fans.
Mhm.
Like it doesn't need to be a political
Mhm.
show. It also, like they had different flags up and stuff. Like it doesn't need to be social commentary as well, in my opinion. Because I think, like, we've talked
Mhm.
about this on the show before, not you and I, but me and some of the other hosts, how, like, when you're a celebrity, you hold such a platform that people look to you for
Mhm.
those answers, people who, for whatever reason, aren't doing their own research. Um,
Mhm.
and so, like, when an election is around, for example, like when these celebrities come out saying, "This is who I'm voting for," you have people who will blindly follow that without actually doing their own research on the candidates. So, I don't know, I just don't think that
Mhm.
celebrities should wield that sort of power, especially on a huge stage like the Super
Mhm.
Bowl halftime show. I think it's like, just
Sure.
keep your political
Mhm.
opinions, to yourself, quite honestly.
Well, you hit on something interesting. It's why do we invest so much power in them?
Right.
I don't necessarily mean you and me, but writ
Yes.
large. Why?
You're right.
Why? Why is it? Why do they have hold that kind of importance over us? It's an interesting question, but there's a lot of things to look at. Not everyone likes the music, and I got a text
Yeah, I
from my
don't think
brother
I
who's
like the
watching with
music.
my parents who said, yeah. Well, my brother wrote, well, mom and her husband Ron are, I know who they're not going to be
Yeah,
downloading
right.
the next, the next offering, which is fine. Of course not. And for me, I'm such a, you know, I'd love to see the Michigan State marching band go out and march for a halftime
Right.
show. I'm not looking for the big pop entertainment. But I will say this: usually, I went in and out. I refreshed my drink. I got some more food and everything. But just looking at it, not listening to the music at all, my thought was that we were looking at season two of Squid Games, and I don't know
Mm,
if that bears any relevance, but it had that kind of aesthetic look, and fine. What does that have to do, do with football? But
right.
I'm usually bored
I
by
mean,
the halftime
realistically,
show.
what
It's
does
silly.
any of the halftime shows have to do with football? Nothing.
Yeah. No, no, nothing.
I
Exactly.
just found it
So there
interesting.
it is. So I'm a stick in the mud. I'm a stick
No,
in the
I
mud.
get it. I also feel this way. Um, it just was interesting how, like, a week ago at the Grammys, he cleaned up again, and it was like, "Oh, how coincidental that he's also
Yeah.
going to be at." Like, I don't know how this guy keeps winning Grammys. His music is awful. But anyway, uh, and he also was performing 3 years ago on the halftime show. So, like, to me, mix it up. Like, what are we doing? Bringing the same guy back again. So,
Sure. Well, if we're gonna do that, bring back Paul McCartney, okay?
right.
So,
Well, Ron says he would have
uh,
preferred Taylor Swift. I wonder why.
that's
You
funny.
would think, like, why wouldn't she do that? Maybe people would think,
Yeah,
she would get ultra booed, maybe. I don't know.
yeah,
Like, I think she probably puts on a good
well,
show, but
mhm,
she too would have made it political, I'm sure of it. So,
in some well, I'll give her credit. When she's political, she usually most of the time, it's just focused on empowering
mhm.
woman,
Yeah,
a young woman. And if it's like go register to vote, is that a political act? It is, and you can infer what you will
right.
for. But you know what? Someone encouraging people to do that. But who knows? She didn't do this show, and she's probably not going to do it next year either.
Probably not.
But it's
No.
I'm I'm usually bored, but I'm not a
Yeah.
good barometer on what the pulse of the country is.
That's
I'm not
fine.
a tastemaker. That's for sure.
Well, that's
But
okay.
it was yeah. It was the game to me was the halftime show aside, the game was all the entertainment I needed for the evening. That's for
Right.
that's for
So
sure.
another thing I found
Yeah.
interesting when I was reading up about the halftime show was how, and it's funny, my 14-year-old kid was filling me in on this a few days ago, and I'm just like, okay, whatever.
Okay.
How there's some drama between Kendrick Lamar and Canadian rap icon Drake, neither of which I or care for.
Yes.
But then
Yes.
used his show to diss him, actually called Drake out on, the stage, then had Serena Williams out there, and I guess there was some drama between Drake and Serena Williams at one point, and like what I don't know, I just don't get it. Is this the like the opportunity? Is this the platform to do that? Just
Right.
call
Yeah,
each
it's
other.
like this sort of parallel. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, like, just
Where'd you
call each other and have a conversation about why you don't
Yeah.
like each other, and like
Yeah.
let's deal with it.
Or we can turn it into a show for that.
Well, and that's just it.
Yeah.
Like, I
Awfully
really feel
mature.
like when these celebrities have drama with each other, it's manufactured drama.
Yeah.
Like Taylor Swift had it for a long
Mhm.
time with Katy Perry. It was like,
Yes.
what even was it about? Like,
Yes.
no, taking background dancers or something, backup dancer. Like, it's nonsense. So I don't know what this beef between Kendrick and Drake is, nor do I care by any means. But like,
More
it just
importantly.
doesn't seem like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the platform to do it, is at the Super Bowl. Like, it's supposed to be a happy day, like we're excited, it's the Super Bowl, everyone's getting together,
Mhm.
millions of people are watching it. I don't know, it's arrogant to me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've said in many contexts, I like personal drama. I like to see personal drama on stage as
Mhm.
part of a theatrical presentation. I don't like it in my personal life, and I don't care for anyone else's in
That's
truth. So
fair, yes.
that's what I want. Yeah. But you know what was cool about the halftime show, and this is
Hmm.
just me. I was very happy to see Samuel L. Jackson. They're sort of like dressed like Uncle Sam because I like Samuel L.
Right.
Jackson. So in and out, what did it mean? What it was just it's like, oh, Samuel L. Jackson's here. So hey,
I couldn't
I
stay
think we're
quiet
being
anymore.
joined.
I couldn't stay quiet.
Okay,
That halftime show
okay.
was just brutal. Brutal.
I'm gonna need to watch it now.
He it is literally the worst halftime show ever. And I mean
Ever?
ever. I would rather have
Hmm.
college marching bands go out there and do their thing
Oh,
because
I would too. Yeah, yeah.
first of all, he can't sing or rap. Didn't matter. His voice is annoying. There was nothing good
Mhm.
about it. The choreography, I'm watching the choreography and then doing different things, when they're supposed to be doing the same. They're not even in time. It was just
Mm.
brutal and it wasn't a spectacle.
Mhm.
When look, when Bruce Springsteen did it, he just went out there and he was the boss. He sang. That's all
Hmm.
he did. It wasn't this big production, right? That
He
was
didn't need
great.
a production
No, it didn't. It
because
Yeah.
didn't
it's
need
Bruce
one.
Yes.
Springsteen.
And then there's those that just put
Hmm.
on a show like Michael Jackson, U2, Prince. They put on a show and it's
Mhm.
spectacular, right? This was nothing. This was not
Mhm.
it was a travesty. And you had mentioned it, Becky, that he was on just a few years ago with Snoop Dogg and all of them, and he's just terrible. He's terrible.
Mhm.
He's a downer. And to bring it in with the political thing was just stupid. And they should
Yeah.
have guidelines for these bands and music acts that go on there. Look, this
Mhm.
is not your chance to be political and make a stand on whatever the hell you're for, right? That's not what it is. It's to entertain those people watching the Super Bowl. You have the biggest audience ever,
Yeah.
and this is what you do.
Hmm.
You put on a crap show and get political all at the same time, and it's a travesty. And it was despicable on how bad it really was. And I
Kenny's
couldn't keep
upset with
quiet.
you.
I had to come on and do
Kenny
it. I had to.
Kenny is upset with you.
I don't
Disrespectful, he says.
I don't care because he stinks. That guy stinks. He has zero talent. He doesn't have a good sound. He comes off as whiny. It doesn't sound good. The music is terrible, and the song lyrics stink as well. There isn't any quality to his music, and I don't know how he got the Grammys for best songs. I just
22 Grammys he's got.
baffled. Yeah, it's
Mm.
ridiculous because he
Mm.
doesn't deserve any of them.
Well,
Doesn't
because
deserve 'em.
he toes the line, I guess, in the way that the Grammy people like it. And, NFL has been political the last few
It's the
years. So,
marketability.
yeah, really.
Yeah. Hey, do either of you know who produces the show? In
I
other
don't
words,
know,
is
but
the
that
halftime
person should
show
be
an
fired.
NFL thing, or is it the TV host? Who does
Look
that?
at
Is Roger
Lu-
Goodell there saying, "Hey, let's have who are we going to have this year?"
I'm gonna look
Or
this
I
up.
don't
who
know.
who does?
First of all, they're in New Orleans. Why are you not doing blues and
Yeah,
jazz?
yeah. No, that's a very good
Why are you
point. I
not?
Yeah,
mean, you're
really,
Hey,
there.
you're
You're
Lil
at
right.
Wayne
ground
is down
zero.
there.
The
He's
best
from
music.
New Orleans. Why not him?
Yeah,
I just
yeah,
don't understand
yeah.
it. You should take the flavor of the city. And if you don't want to
Hmm.
keep going, to the same places all the time, how about spreading it out around the NFL? How about that? Go to other
Mhm.
cities that they just don't go to.
Go,
Why
Ron.
not go
You
to
go.
Seattle? Don't they play in a dome? It makes no sense. I want to hear the music from that area. That is the purpose of it. That is the purpose. It doesn't have to be a crap show.
Right.
I mean, you could literally, there are thousands of music acts that you could have there. And
Oh,
personally, I
sure,
like when
sure.
they go back in time, to a time period and bring somebody from the past that isn't as big anymore.
Hmm.
I like
Hmm.
that. I don't know. I mean, when Miami did, Gloria Estefan with Stevie Wonder, that was fantastic.
Right.
Fantastic.
Mm.
Why are we doing this thing that is just so bad? It's so bad. And they get worse and worse and worse, it seems. Like the last one that was good to me was Dr. Dre and Snoop and all them. I mean, because that was pretty cool. You're bringing all these old
Yeah,
schoolers out,
legends.
and
Mm.
I don't know. The game was great though.
So
Oh
Kenny
yeah,
Game was
Kenny
great.
was
oh yeah,
saying it was Jay-Z in charge, and I was just
absolutely.
looking it up and it said, yeah, Rockin' Nation was producing
Well,
it.
there you go.
So
That's his boy, so he's going to try to pimp him out. That's
Sure.
basically what it is.
But how did they? But how did they get to be in charge? In
I
other
don't
words,
know.
someone either at the NFL or at Fox, decides who to job this out to. It'd be
mm,
interesting. Um, they can do better. I
Well,
mean,
he
you're
just
absolutely
said
right.
Kenny just said that Harry Connick Jr. was at the game. Why not Harry Connick Jr.?
well, I don't like, don't get me wrong, I like Harry Connick Jr. more so as an actor than a singer, but like, is that going to be entertaining for the entire Super Bowl
Why not?
viewership? I don't
It's
know.
it's
I think
every age
medley
gap.
more
It's
so.
every age group is watching this. Every
I
single one.
I think they
Like
should have a
90%.
variance of people, like have Harry Connick Jr., have a few legends from that part of
Yeah,
America.
you can blend. They've done it
Yeah.
before. Smokey Robinson was there,
Hmm.
Mhm.
and Queen Latifah at the
Hmm.
same thing, right? That was
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
You don't have to, just get the mega star and let him
Right.
put on a show. And if it
Talk
falls flat,
politics the whole
and
time.
it kind of stunk.
Mm.
It kind of stunk.
Yeah, it did. Well,
I
I
would have
can't wait to
rather
watch
watched the
it.
Puppy Bowl in that matter,
The
Then
puppy.
they could have had like Three Dog Night as the band.
I would rather watch
Wait,
a Janet Jackson nipple slip. That's what
Right.
I
That's what I'm saying. See, Kenny,
oh God.
number 5 on my list last week.
manufactured nipple slip.
Yes, and the world went crazy. The
Yeah,
world
they
went
did.
apoplectic
It really, you haven't heard a lot from Janet Jackson since then, that's for sure.
yeah,
Now
no,
they'd be like,
God.
hey, pull
Well,
out her nipples.
you could say
Yeah, and why was he basically alone? They had I don't even know what what
yeah,
Za or whatever her name is.
Because,
I never heard of her. That's
yeah,
that must be
yeah.
somebody that Jay-Z's trying to force out onto the
no, she's
public.
quite
It's gotta be.
popular as well, but yeah, not good either, in my opinion.
Yeah, no,
Hmm.
I was just disgusted. All right.
See, I
I
told
said
you.
my
Let's just say
what?
the halftime show reflected the overall performance of Kansas City.
Yeah, pretty
Right.
much. It's a battle to see which one stunk more.
Yeah, that's right.
More.
And who
There
do
we
you
go.
think? Kansas City or Kendrick?
Ooh, that's close. That's close. Kansas City was
Yeah.
very bad, but at least they scored in
Yeah,
the
they were.
end, right? So
Yes.
I'll say Kansas City played better than what Kendrick Lamar said.
Okay, it's very generous.
Yeah.
It's very generous.
Yeah,
See,
that's a close one.
this morning when I suggested this three-way conversation about the Super Bowl, I knew it would be a good idea. I knew Ron had a lot of ideas.
Oh my God. I'm sitting there and it's like, I can't even type fast enough. And I'm like, I have to go
Have
on.
it on.
I had to.
Good. Oh, it's so good that you did. I mean, you're a real historian of this. You could speak to it, and you don't hold
Yeah,
back.
no, I
So,
don't hold back. I can't hold back. That's not me. I tell it like it is. And we just
Mhm.
did this Saturday. Me and Kenny, we were doing the Ron's top 5 about top 5
Yeah,
Super
shows.
Bowl shows. And I literally sat there and watched everyone. And I went back and watched a lot of
Yeah.
those marching bands in the beginning. There was
Mhm.
none this bad. Not one.
Nah.
Not one.
I like the marching bands.
They're
As a
great.
society,
It's
we
like,
have moved on from them.
the when they like feature the drummers at the same time. Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's so good. And I wouldn't mind that. You have a marching band out there with a big star. That would be pretty neat too. Why
Mhm,
are we not
mhm.
doing stuff like
Yeah,
that?
that'd be a great combination. That's what we should do next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Something's gonna give because I don't want them to just run out all these mega stars that are popular at the time and it
Mhm,
just
Mhm.
leaves you flat. I would much
mm,
rather maybe have somebody come out that's big and then you bring in old timers with them and
yeah,
you
yeah.
kind of mix it up and it's like, oh my God, I remember them. This song is great, right? There is no saying this song is great with Kendrick Lamar. I don't care. Maybe as a teenager, maybe I get it, but he's not good. And the talent doesn't shine because most of the artists that are 25 and under really don't hone their craft very well. I mean, there are always some. I'm
Mm,
not saying everybody is bad, but they're just bubblegum. It's generic. It's
mm,
a it's a you know it's the hooks and that just makes it popular, and
mm,
it's just not talent. There's not talent. There's not why not Billie Eilish? Mega
mm.
star, right? Why not? Somebody that
I don't know.
actually
I don't
has
think that'd be
talent.
entertaining for the grown men who watch football.
Yeah, well, guess what? It's too bad. Because that's not what they're marketing it to.
Yeah,
They're not
Right.
marketing it to the people that watch
that's
football
true.
because if they did, they would have the people that the football players like.
Well, Kendrick
It
Lamar
Mhm,
is
isn't
probably
marketed
up
to them.
there. I would
These
imagine
this
that Kendrick
the
Lamar is up
Super
there.
Bowl the Super Bowl is marketed to the pink hats. That's what they call the once the one-time football watcher, right? It's just like
Mhm.
it's just like
mhm.
going to the Red Sox. You hear "Sweet Caroline." That is not marketed to baseball fans. That is
Right.
marketed to the
Right,
pink
right.
hats that go once in a while because somebody else is going.
Mhm,
Mhm. Mhm.
right.
The guy brings his girlfriend. It's for her. Or vice versa if it's the
True.
girl that's
Yeah.
the baseball fan, right? They're not marketing this stuff to the football fan. It is marketed to all those people that are watching because they're at the party. That's what it's marketed to.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm done.
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
you feel
Well,
better? You
I
feel
do.
better?
got it out. Rant
I got it
over.
out. Got it out.
I think you should do an AI sort of transcription of that and send it in a sternly worded letter to Roger Goodell.
Yeah.
Well, and we should all sign it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. More musical acts that, everyone
Mhm,
likes instead. Nothing political. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so
mhm.
that took us a half an hour into our show. So we have got to cram
Oh,
in
you
five
gotta go quick.
topics
Okay.
into a half an hour. So tell us about Disneyland or Disney World. Sorry, Disney World.
Okay, Disney World. Well, people say, "Why do you go so often?" I go at least once a year, sometimes
Oh,
2 or 3
fun.
times. Why do you go? There's a lot of reasons,
You love
and
it.
it is a point of privilege that I get to go
Yes.
often. But I had a great time this week, and there were a couple of highlights, and the last one is sums it all up. When I'm there, I like listening to the music. If you like music of all
Mhm.
types, in all the parks, there's always something interesting musical happening. And at Epcot this week, I spent a fair amount of time listening to some of the regular entertainment. One being this group called Matsuriza, and they are drummers from
Oh,
Japan.
that's
And
cool.
the art form is called, yeah, taiko drumming. And I don't know if you've ever heard the taiko drums or seen them performed. Typically, um, you see what I would call, I described it somewhat humorously as sumo wrestler looking men wearing a big diaper
No,
playing a drum the
no.
size of a Volkswagen with baseball
What?
bats. Now, I say that tongue in
You're
cheek.
right.
They are all the drummers of this art form are spectacular artists. They're in great physical shape. The drumming is outstanding musically. It's compelling, but to watch them, it's almost like choreography. It's almost like watching martial
Oh,
arts.
cool.
And this group Matsuriza are all women, and they are all handsome, attractive women in the broadest sense. I mean, they're in good shape and they move so beautifully, so gracefully. They make wonderful music, and it's so exciting. I mean, after you hear that, you want to go out on the gridiron and play a Super Bowl. They should. That's what they
Yeah,
should have.
right?
They should have a taiko drum group from Japan be
That's
at
the
the Super
warm-up music.
Bowl
Yeah.
for halftime. Yes, and then afterwards, let me tell you, everyone's going to come running on the field ready to rip each other's heads off. Okay, but they play for free if you're at Epcot. They play,
Interesting.
if not every day, most days. Yeah, most days during the week. And when I'd go with my children when they were younger, my son, he didn't like to stay still. He wanted rides. My daughter would stop and listen, but maybe I'd get a song out of them. But now that I was, it was a grown up Disney trip, I heard their whole set, and it was great. And I was sipping a sake that I got at the Japanese restaurant. There was at the Japanese
How
Pavilion,
appropriate.
and the temperature was perfect. Yeah, and I'm like, this is just a lovely, lovely afternoon.
Love
And
it.
earlier that day, I went and heard in the Mexican Pavilion the mariachi
Mhm.
band they have there called Mariachi Cobra. And music couldn't be any more different. The
Right.
ensemble is different. Rather than three women drummers, you had here, I think, a dozen male musicians. And in this combo, there were three trumpeters, six violinists, and three guitarists, one being a very tiny guitar, one being what I would call a regular sized guitar, and then one this massive like bass guitar that's like the size of a
Oh,
small boat,
wow.
but it's still a guitar. And all of these men had singing
Mm.
voices. I think most of them were trained opera
Oh, yeah.
singers. I could hear it in the way the
Like
sound was
vibrato and
resonating.
stuff.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, it was just magnificent, and they did just a wonderful show. And I didn't have a drink. I didn't. I didn't have
M
tequila with me there. I should
margarita.
have,
Yeah.
but yeah, Margaret, right? But they're there. It's there available to you. They started and I started listening, so I didn't have my refreshment. But it was just 20 minutes or so of just pure musical bliss, and that's at the same park on the same the same day. So I like doing that when I'm at Disney World. But there's lots of other musical experiences that I had this trip. But let me go jump now to the Disney's Animal Kingdom park. Two things happened there that were complete. I didn't
Mhm.
expect to see, and they were just delightful. One was I was waiting online for something, put a pin in that, but I heard these two cranes shrieking, and they were called. The species was the Sarus crane, Sarus, and the trumpeting of these cranes was like nothing I've ever heard before. And they were tall too. And one of the people working there told me that these
Okay.
cranes can go up to 6 feet in
Wow.
height, and they are the largest bird, tallest bird that can
Wow.
fly.
I like their
And so
faces.
something upset.
So red.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, yeah. It's so happy to see them and hear them. They started running around, and by the time I got my recording device out to record the sound, yeah, for Fraser
That's my
Crane,
favorite type of crane.
not almost as tall as right, but he can't
Right.
fly. Uh, I missed the sound. They stopped trumpeting just when I was about to record. But to see them and learn about them, I had not noticed them before. I had not heard them before. Uh, one of the cast members at Disney also told me that the sound they make is often used in
Hmm.
Hollywood if they want to create a sound for the dinosaur, the
Oh,
velociraptor.
really? Like
That
that
the
screech?
velociraptor sound comes from,
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
yeah, it comes from the Saurus crane. So that was just
Interesting.
great. Now, I was what now, but what really blew me away, and this is why I was online. I was on an unusually long line in their one of the exhibits in the Animal Kingdom Park is called the Maharaja Jungle Trek, and it's not a ride; it's a walkthrough
Hmm.
exhibit. So no matter how crowded the park is, you can always take a walk. They have two sort of animal paths where you can just walk and enjoy nature. And so I went there for my typical walk, and the signage was weird, and they were directing me to enter from what used to be the exit. So I asked the person, am I crazy, or did you change, the direction of this? And he said, no, 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 we changed the direction. And he said, this is a quote, it's because of, all the craziness about the
Hmm.
tiger. And I said, crazy, say more. And apparently 4 months ago, a baby tiger was born to his parents.
Oh, wow.
They had two Sumatran tigers at the park. Baby tiger was born 4 months ago. And this week, it just started to come out on exhibit. And the
Oh,
craziness was, and this is the good part and the bad part of the internet. Some people saw it, went on Instagram, and now everyone's flocking
of
to see
course.
this, and there was a bit of a line to go see it. But they said up to an hour. I waited a half hour. I would have gladly waited 2 hours
Oh,
to see
wow.
this, and I got to see a tiger cub and its mom frolicking
Aw.
together in an open environment, completely unimpeded by humans, and they looked adorable. And I got some video of it, and while it looked cute, it's like what's going on here is mom is training her son to hunt and kill other animals. And
Oh,
while he's small, it looks really adorable. Look at that
yeah,
rascal,
right.
but it's really, it's this is nature happening. But it was spectacular. Where else am I going to see
Yeah.
this? If I went to India on a jungle trek, if I saw a tiger and if I survived it, right? This
Right.
is, was it likely I'm going to watch a relatively newborn and its parent learn, teach these innate skills that they need to learn, you wouldn't get to see this anywhere else, and so that made my trip. And I went back again to see it this time. My wife wasn't with me the first time I
Mhm.
went. She came and joined me, and it was just as spectacular the next time. And for anyone who's going to be in the area in the next couple of
Mhm.
weeks, next couple of months, well worth going to the animal kingdom and waiting online to see this because it was special.
Oh, that's cool.
That's why I love Disney World, because I never know, things like this happen all the time. 10 years
Right.
ago, I saw a baby gorilla that was
Aw.
2 days old with its mother. Yeah. I'm like, "Oh my goodness," and watching that nurturing, the bonding, yeah, it's a privilege. It's
Oh,
a
I
privilege.
love that. I've been to Disney World once when I was a very small child because I lived near Toronto, so it was a little easier to get to than let's say Disneyland. But I haven't been back
Yeah.
since, and I want to. I don't want to go to Disneyland; it doesn't appeal to me. But Disney World, yeah, looks great. I mean, obviously from you, you love it there. It's the place to be.
Yes. Look, good food and drink, beautiful landscaping, but you never know what you're going to see at Disney's Animal Kingdom Park. And there's a lot of programs there too on
Yeah.
conservation, and they backstage tours where you get to see, what they're doing for these animals. One time we watched some surgical procedures in the park too. My wife's a radiologist, and she was reading the films for, I forget what they may have been turtles, but and she was talking with the people through walls and microphones and whatnot, what they were doing, and they were sort of geeking down on the science of it. But it's never dull there. Never, never, never dull. Every time you'll find something
I love
interesting
it.
for sure.
That's cool. Well, I'm glad you got to
Yeah,
go there. That's pretty awesome. I'm a little jealous, to be
me too.
honest, but
Oh, good. Well, and it was, and you should be, because it was really very, very cool. But we could have gone 2 months from now, and maybe the tiger thing would have died down.
right.
Maybe they were
Mhm.
slowing things down. We could have gone a month ago and wouldn't have seen it at all. It was just dumb luck.
Yeah.
But if you're looking
Mhm.
to see stuff, it will reveal itself. So there we go.
Amazing. I love it. All right,
Yeah.
moving right along here. Let's talk about this theme park in Canada. No, it's not a theme park. I should not say that at all. So I came across this
Uh,
yesterday, an article about it, and I thought, well, this is interesting. And do I agree with it? I'm on the fence. Maybe I am. So there's a
mm,
place called Gatineau, Quebec. It's just a little north of New York State, somewhere in New York State. So it's not far from, where all of our co-hosts are on the east side. It's pretty close to there, Gatineau,
mm.
Quebec. They've put this shipping container village together. Now, you know what? I have pictures. Hang on. Hang on here. I can't believe
Yeah.
I forgot this. Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay.
Okay.
So Gatineau, Quebec is a French place, as you can tell by the writing behind me. So these are
Ah.
tiny little shipping containers. They look like they're about, 8 feet, maybe 8 feet by six
Hmm.
feet, or maybe 12 feet by 8 feet, like not a very big shipping container by any means. But they have set these up for people in a transition period needing help in the housing crisis. Canada is in a major housing crisis because we just keep bringing people in without the infrastructure. And it's crazy because we have the room for more infrastructure and yet we don't do it. But anyway,
Mm.
yeah, so they've set up this shipping container yard for people who need help getting on their feet, whether that's homeless people, whether that's people, just can't afford, rent kind of thing. It's called the Village
Hmm.
Transition or Transition because it's French. Um,
Yeah.
but
It sounds so much better in
yeah,
French. It sounds so much
Village
better. Yeah.
Transition. Yeah, instead of Transition
Huh.
Village, because that doesn't sound super great.
Yeah.
Um, but it says that 45 units were opened just before Christmas or right around Christmas time, and they were filled up instantly. Now, by the end of May, they want to have 100 of these containers up and running. And yeah, they do have to pay rent to live there, but it is a sliding scale and it is based on a percentage of your income. So one article that I read was about a fellow who moved in there. He's admittedly got a drug problem, but he does work. He's separated from
Okay.
his, wife and kid right now, just as he's trying to, balance everything,
Mm.
recovery and work and things like that. So he pays $227 a month to live in one of these because they're trying to take about a 25% margin of his income. So yeah, so they
Okay.
get to live in here. They're small, but it gives independence. It probably gives back.
Mhm.
Here's a top floor plan here. If I move out of the way, you can see there's
Oh,
almost like this little patio kind of area, and then a
mhm.
bed and a toilet over right here, and like a hot plate kind
Okay.
of thing, microwave hot plate, maybe a TV on the wall. Now, internet is included, and I think cable as well. So, and I don't know, it just gives confidence back to people who might be struggling and need help. So I'm guessing it has a communal shower type area. I haven't read about that,
Okay.
but I'm not seeing it in here. You can opt for a bigger place, I guess, bigger home,
Unit.
which is
Okay.
not a lot bigger, but it does have
Mhm.
a full kitchen and a full bathroom in it. So obviously the rent on that one
Okay.
would be a heck of a lot more. But uh, you living on the east part of the States, that rent is absolutely crazy. If you think of
Oh,
like
yeah.
rent in New York
Yes.
City, that's probably very similar to rent in Montreal or Toronto or a
Mhm.
lot of places in
Yeah.
Ontario and Quebec. So, people who can afford it, especially based off of a
Mhm.
minimum wage job or a laborer's job or
Right.
whatever, who can afford 4 grand a month to live anywhere in a one bedroom apartment? So,
Yeah.
yeah, so they've come up with this area. Now, right now, they are not allowed to have visitors for the safety of everybody, which, I think is okay. There will be a meeting come May where the residents discuss it about who can come and who can't come. The problem is, like, and not in any way a judgment, but when you have a group of people who, lean towards drugs or addiction, sometimes the company they keep isn't exactly great, you know? And this is a
Mhm.
transition place trying to
I'm sorry.
actually help people get back on their feet. So, I don't know, the more I think about it, the more I actually like it. the more I think it's not a bad idea. I know, a lot of people are struggling. I live in one of the coldest places on earth, and you know how many homeless people I see here? It's wild. Like right now,
Uh,
it's awful. You
hmm.
can't even go outside without freezing. Like today is minus 30 Celsius. Like it's
Oh, that's how do you
you
survive? Oh my
don't. And that's
goodness,
just
it's
it. Like I think
terrible.
a lot of people are dying, and unfortunately, I hate to say this, but a lot of governments would rather that. It's sort of like a natural selection type process to them. The problem sorts itself out, and I think that's awful.
I couldn't agree more. The way we turn our backs as a society on people in need, and a
Yeah.
lot of times it's with the assumption, well, that this happened because of some sort of character flaw, but that's honestly rarely the case. My daughter has much more domain expertise on this subject
Mm,
than I do, and she keeps enlightening me as to some of the realities of housing shortages, but
mhm.
also of programs like this that are designed to resolve it. And some are successful, some are not. You do run into some problems like what you articulated
Yeah.
about not having guests and being careful about the
Mhm.
company who you keep. But what happens all too often is you have a program that is successful, but it needs to be nurtured and sustained.
Mhm.
And then if people just look at it as, well, look what it's costing us,
Right.
and then you cut it, then you have, or you don't cut it outright, but you just don't fund it
Right.
sufficiently. Then problems do develop, and then as they see it didn't work, and this happens, currently happens historically, and it's interesting because what we're really talking about is to make a difference in someone's
Mhm.
life who is struggling.
Right.
What is the minimum that you need that can make that difference?
Right.
And my daughter, in her work and her studies, is looking to find institutional ways to provide that
Wow.
difference, because it doesn't have to be three mega homes or
No.
even big apartments, but maybe we just need a little subsidy here,
Yeah.
or a nice,
Honestly.
safe, clean place to live until you get your feet on the
Yes.
ground. And when you do that for people, now they have productive, fulfilling
Mhm.
lives. How wonderful is that? And here's the catch. The catch is the cost. It may cost X dollars to do this
Mhm.
properly, but the cost of not doing it is
Mhm.
exorbitant and much higher. And it's
Well,
hard to quantify that
you
up
have
front.
to figure
Yeah.
unchecked, let's say, people who need help but go unchecked. They live on the streets, they have drug problems, whatever. That in itself is a financial drain on the city, on taxpayers.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
Canada, where healthcare
Mhm.
doesn't cost us anything, like that puts a major drain on wait times
Mm.
and everything. So like if you can get these people back on their feet, that's how I feel about like safe injection sites. Like, yeah, I don't think people
Mhm.
should be doing it, but at least there they can get education, they can have help, things like that. And with an opportunity of somebody listening to them that respects them enough that maybe it motivates them to get clean and try and, get back on their feet.
Mhm.
Like I think the cost going into building a place like this is, you know, equal, if not, more economical to do something like this than to let it go unchecked
Yeah.
in some of these cities.
Yep.
I don't know. That's my thought.
No, no, you are
Mhm,
correct. There's a lot of data on that. The
mhm.
cost of doing nothing or doing something poorly is much, much higher in dollars and cents, let
Of
alone
course.
the social
Yeah.
cost of it. So,
And what blows my mind
but
about how we don't care for a lot of these people, yeah, you're right, maybe a flaw, but, like, a lot of these people are veterans. A lot of these people had
yeah,
PTSD. A
yeah,
lot of these people in Vancouver, I
mhm,
know here,
yes,
some, like, mental institutions, I don't know what the proper term is for that, but were closed down and the people were sent to the streets.
right,
So, like, and then not to
yeah,
mention like a fentanyl type crisis or a opiate crisis,
mhm,
um,
right,
which
right,
is fairly manufactured from higher ups. So it's like there's a lot of responsibility that I think powers that be need to be
right,
dealing with,
yeah,
but are they? No, absolutely not. They could be Mounties. No, that's a
Mounties,
tough
come on.
process to become a Mountie. Ron was talking about a
Oh my
building that
goodness,
they have that's an apartment building made of shipping containers. So I
Mhm.
saved it here to show everybody. It actually looks cool. Like if
Oh,
it's
great.
for, for rent and things like that, that's cool. But is this one made for homeless? Or is this just like for people who want to live in something kind of different? I don't know. It's cool looking anyway.
It is cool looking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it does. Other things, if programs like these do continue, they do flourish. It's kind of plain looking, and that's fine. But would a little landscaping make it
Right.
look nicer, and in so doing,
Right.
help people along? Because the how we surround ourselves affects our
Hmm.
moods and affects how we feel about ourselves. And so maybe next step is, you
Hmm.
expand the program, you fund it properly. Maybe there's a little community garden. Maybe you put a couple of
Right.
trees. Again,
Exactly.
we don't have to bring in high-end Hollywood
Yeah.
landscape architects, right? But maybe some
Yes.
wildflowers, maybe, a patch growing
Just
basil and
something
tomatoes
to
or
give,
something.
people's spirits a boost. Yeah,
Yeah.
gardening is
Yeah.
actually very
Yeah.
therapeutic for a lot of people. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. I think that would be
Good for
awesome.
you. That's
Well,
interesting.
we've got
So how long has this been? Oh, I'm
oh no,
sorry.
just since December of
I was
this
just
year, last year. So 2 months it's been
okay.
open. Yeah, brand new.
I'm curious to see where we're gonna be in, at the end of the year.
Totally. Yeah.
It's an interesting program. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. See if any other provinces pick it up. I mean, we've got homeless situation everywhere. So, uh, yeah,
Mhm.
that's awesome.
Yes,
All
we
right,
do.
let's move along
Yes,
here.
we do.
I think we'll just do your topic. I will save my next topic for Thursday or whenever I'm on again. But let's talk Black history, the
Okay.
plays of August Wilson.
Okay, I'll talk quick. The late great August Wilson, I think one of America's finest
Mm,
playwrights of the latter part of the 20th century. He was committed to writing a cycle about the African American experience in America through the decades of the
mm,
20th century. I don't know if he completed it before he passed away.
mm,
And I was privileged to work with him on 4 occasions, two of them quite closely when I was working full time in theater, and happy times in my professional life for sure. But his plays bring me much joy and excitement. He's a marvelous writer. We're pressed for time, so I won't go into
mm,
too much detail other than he passed away in 2005, and his plays are still done. But in the 90s and in the 80s, 90s, and aughts, his work was being done all the time. It created almost a cottage
mm,
industry of theater, and it gave places for many people whom we know, celebrities whom we know, to really grow into live theater and into film. Among them are the great Viola
mm.
Davis, Samuel L.
Wow.
Jackson, Lawrence Fishburne, Rocky Carroll, Rock Dutton, but also some established great giants in theater like James Earl Jones also worked in his
Wow.
plays early on. Tremendous talent. If there isn't an August Wilson play going on in a neighborhood by you at your local regional theater or university or something, um, his plays have been filmed now. And you can see, and not all of them, but a number of them, most notably, Fences, starring
Yeah.
Denzel Washington and Viola Davis, which was a great film adaptation. The Piano Lesson, Pulitzer Prize winning play of his. There was, with the original Broadway cast, there was a Hallmark special done in the 90s of it that's floating around the
Mm,
internet someplace. But just recently, again, under the auspices of Denzel Washington, I think on Netflix, there is a new production of the piano lesson, and based on the recent Broadway revival, which I saw and loved. And so that's out there. Also, my favorite August Wilson play, the first one I saw, the play that was his breakthrough. I don't know if, yeah, how well we can see this. The play is Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. It is his only play. His cycle of plays is set in Pittsburgh. It's the only one that is not. It's set in
mm,
Chicago, and it's his only play that deals with historic figures. This one deals with Gertrude Ma Rainey, the famous blues singer. And there is a famous well-regarded Netflix film version of it, starring Viola Davis and the late. Oh, forgive me. This is what happens when you turn 60, and I'm going to forget I'm gonna just dropping the name of the very talented actor who passed
Okay, I can
away.
look it up.
Um,
What's the
African American
what's the name of
actor.
the movie?
He was the star of Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. He was also the star of Black Panther. He's a major talent. I'm
The
just
fellow who
having a
passed
senior
away?
moment. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick, but yeah, you know, they are
Mhm,
phenomenal in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for the original production
mhm.
starring Rock Dutton, but make no mistake, Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman give tremendous performances in a magnificent play. So, Black History Month. Check these out on Netflix or other places where you stream shows. You will not be disappointed, and maybe we'll have occasion to talk about August Wilson's work more
I
at
love
a
it.
later date.
Ron says that he loves your topics, so cultured. So true. Yes, you bring a
Oh,
certain uh perspective to our podcast, which I love.
oh, well, thank you. I get very excited about music and
Totally.
theater. That's
Yeah,
for
you
sure.
do. We can tell.
Mm,
But it's good. You're
okay.
passionate about it. Okay, well, great show today. We are at exactly 9 o'clock. Join us
Okay.
tomorrow. It's going to be Ron and Ira. That's always a good time with those two.
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah.
when you're back.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably back Thursday. So check us out. I'll have that little balloon thing up again. That's about Lawn Chair Larry. So I'm pretty excited about that one. And
Okay.
yeah, great
That's great.
show. Check us out on all our socials and I don't know, be here tomorrow, 10 a.m.
Okay. Be well, everyone.
Bye.